Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network.
Chronicles of Form and Place, works on paper by Takao Tanabe, a rare opportunity to experience his work in person. It's all in this book, but it's hanging on the walls here at the Art Gallery at the Vancouver Island University campus until April 24th. We're giving you a sneak peek today. Career Connections, helping people with challenges find their dream jobs and going for gold with Canada's bobsled team. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Takao Tanabe has been described and hailed as one of Canada's most important contemporary artists. We tried to get him here for an interview today. He's 89 years old and enjoying some time still painting, still creating outside of the public spotlight right here on Vancouver Island. We're going to talk to the curator here at the Nanaimo Art Gallery about why this artist is so important to the artistic and cultural scene, not just in Canada, but internationally as well. But we're starting off in Parksville. The Career Connection program at the Parksville and District Association for Community Living helps find people with disabilities their perfect dream job. Rayanne LaPlante now introduces us to one such woman named Victoria. Victoria hopes to have her business up and running by the end of February. If you'd like more information on Career Connections, the best place to go is their website, www.pdacl.ca. Justin McGrail is the curator here at the Nanaimo Art Gallery. Very excited to have the work of Takao Tanabe here. Why? How excited are you?
Well, really excited to have such an important Canadian BC artist represented here, to have this many works. You have to imagine what it's like to be a curator when crates arrive, 55 works by a major artist, and our job, my job, and along with Stephen the technician, is to look at them and hang them and to get a chance to really work with them.
Must have felt like Christmas here at the Art Gallery.
Absolutely like Christmas. It was spectacular.
What makes him a master? We're going to look at different styles of his work because it's a huge range. But in this style, what makes him so great?
Well, with this wall, one of the things we wanted to highlight was Tanabe's ability to work in different sizes, quite small, and with very simple mediums. And so, for instance, we have from 1957, The Cabin, which is a brilliant example of very small-scale use of watercolors and graphite, and the detailing, you can see just such slight details, and yet we all can see trees reflecting in water, quite simply. But I'm particularly amazed with his work in graphite, using the simplest material, simply graphite with an eraser and paper. And as you can see from this shot, look at the gradations. You can almost see the rain falling there. And again, that's just that light mixture of rubbing and also using an eraser to take the elements off. And again, you can feel the air move. You can see the shadows on the line, on the ground there as well.
How does this one fit in? Sort of looks a bit out of place almost.
Well, and this was part of the idea of this wall. We're going to talk about the range. Tanabe, who's worked for 6 decades, we have 6 decades worth of work here. You can see an amazing range, and I like that this one, with color, watercolors, and again, kind of very unusual for him, a focal point. We're quite close to the image there. Is a nice contrast to his more traditional horizon landscape images around.
Let's move down a little bit to his totem pole depictions here.
Yes.
Wow.
This is a series of poles that were done. These are done in the 1980s. He visited Haida Gwaii. And of course, no artist in BC, of course, can really capture the landscape without bringing in the tradition of the poles, the heritage, the crest poles, for instance, of Haida Gwaii, both the legacy of Emily Carr and contact artists as well. And so in the case of Tanabe, who is actually from the north, he was born in Seal Cove, north of Rupert, these images tie into his own personal history as well, where he's been seeing these over the course of his life.
Okay, and as you mentioned, we're going to look at the range of his work on display downstairs here at the Nanaimo Art Gallery at the VIU Campus. And I don't know if I mentioned it off the top, but Tanabe has received the Order of Canada, the Order of British Columbia. He's a member of the Governor General's Award, or he holds one of those acknowledgements as well. So a very important exhibit running here until April the 23rd. We'll look at more. April the 24th. We'll look at more after a short break. Still to come, homeowners wake up to a burglary, Nanaimo Clippers rapid fire, and going for bobsleigh gold.
Did you know you're not allowed to sell your Academy Award? Harold Russell once sold his Academy Award to pay for his wife's cancer treatment. Not anymore. The Academy gets first rights to buy it for $1.
We thought it appropriate, while we're spending some time in an art gallery today, to congratulate the 2014 recipients of the Nanaimo Cultural Award. So we're going to do a little shout out. Shay Johnson received the Emerging Cultural Leader recognition. Pat Coleman, Excellence in Culture. Ian Nymeth, Honor in Culture, who is on the board of directors here for the Nanaimo Art Gallery, does so much in this community, as all of the recipients do. And finally, Ken Gogo, for a lifetime achievement. Congratulations. If you'd like to nominate someone in culture for the 2015 awards, you can do that until October the 15th, and you can go to the City of Nanaimo website to do that. There's forms online there, and just visit the Culture and Heritage section of the City of Nanaimo website. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. It's time for a look at a new installment of Crime Stoppers. Takao Tanabe, English Bay Dawn, 1974, one of many, many pieces hanging here at the Nanaimo Art Gallery at the VIU campus in an exhibit, a rare and exciting exhibit called Chronicles of Form and Place. And the landscapes certainly indicate our place, our sense of place. Absolutely.
One of the continuities in all of Tanabe's work is the importance of place, usually in the form of landscape. We do have a few abstract examples as well. But that is one of the hallmarks of his whole career, 6 decades, mainly of painting the Canadian landscape, whether it was the prairies or the mountains when he was at Banff, or of course the coast in BC.
And what's interesting about these two pieces, as you pointed out, is this is 1974, and then what are we seeing here? Is 1994.
We started with English Bay Dawn, and now we have Howe Sound Dawn. So again, both from the same region, and you can see a 20-year difference. The works are a natural pairing, and there's a sense of continuity that I like. I was saying to you before, we often think that an artist's trajectory is always one of constant development and change, and yet we often forget that an artist can work and develop in more than one area or type of motif. And so here you can see that along with his abstraction or painting, in graphite drawings, he can come back 20 years later and produce a wonderful pair of works that really are amongst the strongest visually, really striking works.
Along in the same theme of place is something that is quite different than what you're going to see in the graphite. This is so bright.
Absolutely.
And airy. What can you say about this?
Well, these are from 2009. It's a series of 3 watercolors that Tanabe did of the Rocky Mountains. Tanabe's been associated with the Banff Center for the Arts going back to the 1970s. He was a longtime professor of painting there.
And this is the third one.
And we have the third one here. And these, again, talk about range. Now we're into a very, very naturalistic, almost photographic appearance, and yet done here very simply in watercolors. And when you see up close, you can see how thin the paint is. And I've been saying about mastery of materials and that subtlety of detail, where that one little line, which if you and I perhaps drew that on a piece of paper, it wouldn't make much of a tree.
If it was me, it'd probably look like a mistake.
But in this case, we have the sense of the trees, richly at the foot of the mountains, leading us up into the Rockies. Okay. It's a great sense of place and space within the image.
Excellent. You mentioned range of material, range of imagery. We're going to explore that a little bit more as we move downstairs later on this edition of Go Island. But we're moving from arts to sports, as we often do. Time now for another edition of Rapid Fire with Dan Marshall. An untitled piece from Takao Tanabe, and there's 2 dates on it, 1960 to 2005. What's up with that?
This is an example of a work that Tanabe produced in 1960, and then he returned to it and added to the work.
45 years later.
45 years later. I was saying upstairs we looked at 2 works that were separated by 20 years, and now this is a case of a work of his. And one thing about this exhibition I should stress, a lot of these pieces have never been seen because they belong to the artist. This seems very Japanese.
Right.
And indeed, Takao Tanabe is a Japanese-Canadian, and he did travel to Japan in the 1950s to study a type of ink painting, what we call sumi. Okay. And sumi painting is famous because it involves, the artist has to envision in their mind all the brushstrokes, where the paint's going to go, very precisely. And then once they've got it all mapped out, they very quickly do the picture.
Because it doesn't look precise.
Precisely. It's a mix. It looks spontaneous, but it is meticulously planned.
Did he go to Japan to search out his own roots and explore his identity?
He talks about that. After the war, and after the internment camp experience for him as well, he had to ask that question of how Canadian am I? Am I Japanese or Canadian? And he went to Japan, studied with a sumi master painter, and his conclusion, as was published, he realized that he's actually Canadian. He's from BC. But he brought the sumi ideas, this idea of this type of painting, to his works. And we get a sense of it in some of these works. And I would argue that this is present in all of his pieces, in the range of his works.
Okay, which is what we promised to talk about, range, and that searching for the identity and where is a homeland. And we can see a Japanese influence here, but not here?
Well, this is what's interesting, is that if we go from the piece we're looking at, the very calligraphy-like laying down of the ink, and then we shift to a work such as this.
That looks very West Coast.
And now we are in, we know this, all our viewers, we know what this looks like. We're in the woods, it's a cedar forest. Again, his graphite technique here, a mixture of both, you can see the erasing, using an eraser to bring up the lines.
Bring out the light. And then a little bit of color.
And then this
added
is
into this one.
And I love the way that the color was added, as you can see, almost in a printmaking technique, where we have this block of green overlaid, some within the lines, some without the lines. And it immediately, though, pushes that foreground right up to us, pushes, and then you can see the darkness recedes away from us. So this is a good example where he's using a push and pull of perspective. The color comes forward, the darkness away, and we again know what it's like to be in this space.
We're going to move once again from the master of an artistic craft to the masters of a sports craft. We are in the middle of the Olympics, and luge is huge for the Canadians. Actually, that should be bobsleigh. They're both huge. But we're going to take a look at the Canadian bobsleigh team in Calgary. Brings us to the end of this edition of Go Island. You can experience a wonderful exhibit here, Takao Tanabe, Chronicles of Form and Place, at the Nanaimo Art Gallery at the VIU Campus until April the 24th. Thank you to Justin and the entire staff here at the gallery, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network. Clothing supplied by Catwalk Fashions. Kate's Hair and Aesthetics provided by Maffeo Salon.